So how did this all happen with Mike and Sue Prom and Voyageur Canoe Outfitters?
See, I'm going to work really hard at not talking too much. Go ahead.
Well, so you two met in college? I mean, how did this get started? Were you working at another resort?
Actually, Mike and I were high school sweethearts. We met in high school, and Mike has been an entrepreneur ever since I've known him, starting out with cheese curds at the Benton County Fair, and his family started a cheese curd business.
Which is a concession stand that we did all summer. And then when Sue and I started dating, she got involved in that business, and so we've been running running a business as a couple ever since our senior year in high school, basically.
And what year was that?
And that was 1986, 87.
We graduated high school in 1988.
Yep.
And we were carnies for a couple of years as we went through college. And Mike had a degree. His degree was in outdoor recreation and needed an internship, and found that at Quarter Deck Resort on Gull Lake.
Near Nisswa, or near Brainerd, Minnesota. And Sue got a job in the office as an office manager there, and that was kind of our start in the resort business. And we discovered that we really liked it. It wasn't far enough north for us. We had done canoe trips both in Canada, in the Boundary Waters when we were in college. I worked at a couple camps when I was in high school and college, and we decided that we wanted to make a living somewhere north. And so we started looking at businesses.
And at this point you were 22, 23?
22 years old when we started looking at businesses.
Mm-hmm. We looked at a couple of businesses in Ely, and luckily those fell through. We actually dealt on one for a really long time and were very disappointed when it didn't turn out that we could purchase it. And there isn't a day that goes by now that we aren't grateful that we ended up on the Gunflint Trail. We love living at the end of the Gunflint Trail, and it's a very unique place to live.
I always think it's kind of like the farming community, where if you got a barn to put up, everybody gets together and puts the barn up for you. And we've seen it many, many times with the blowdown storm and wildfires that happen and everything, and people just pitch in and help each other out. Some of our best friends are competitors that have other resorts or have outfitting businesses, and that just makes it a lot more fun.
Certainly unique.
Yeah.
So you've been, you ultimately bought an existing business at your current location, and you built the lodge now, right?
Sure.
When when the business in Ely fell through, Mike started looking in back issues of the newspaper in the Twin
what year
Cities.
was this?
That would have been in
1993.
1993.
Yeah, March, April of 93.
What was I going to say?
Back issues?
Oh yeah, and found one that said Resort of a Lifetime on the Gunflint Trail, and by that time we were already sold on owning an outfitting business, but knew, yeah, we could probably make it work, into an outfitting business because of its location. And when we got up there, well, my first reaction was, what on earth did we just drive 6 hours for? Because we pulled into a muddy mess, and it was spring and it was slushy, and there was a little 20 by 20 house with the store beneath it, cement block, and the guy was a farmer from Owatonna. Nothing against farmers from Owatonna, but he had his bib overalls on and his big orange
and his ripped shirt and just
ripped
rubber
white
boots.
T-shirt.
April is the worst month because of the snow melting and everything, so it's muddy. It
Breakup,
kind of dries up, and then it snows again, and then it gets wet. And April is that month that you just go, okay, what season is it anyways? And that's when we looked at it.
He had no indoor plumbing. He showered in the basement of the store
With a hose.
Well,
Oh,
he
geez.
did have a shower head on the middle pole in the store, and it went down into a hole in the drain where there was a 50-gallon drum that you'd have to haul out by hand when it filled up. And it did not look impressive to me at all. It wasn't something that I was looking for. There was a couple of old trailers that he rented out as
3 mobile home
cabins
trailers, yeah.
that were just not attractive looking at all.
But we went across the Seagull River to the other side of the property that we have, and there was 26 acres there with the bunkhouses and a cabin, and we started really quickly realizing what potential this place has. And as we looked at the maps and saw where it was in the world with, you know, the location in the boundary waters with 2 entry points off our dock. The river is really neat because it's sheltered. It's a great place to teach people to paddle, to start your trip. As the afternoon went on and we started looking at this, we looked at each other and we said, this is exactly the type of business that we want and need.
So 1993, you're looking at a shower head in the basement with a 50-gallon drum and a 20 by 20 brick building, and that was the start.
And that was the start, yeah. And we made an offer that day. It was April, and actually we slept on it so we could talk about it on the way home. And we made an offer the next day, and he accepted it. And May 1st, we moved up there to start our new life together.
We moved up there our first night. It was kind of funny because the owner was living in the house, and we were staying in employee housing, which has since been renovated to part of our outfitting building. And I remember having to go to the bathroom and being nervous about going out to the outhouse. And I said, Mike, I have to go to the bathroom. You know, will you come out with me? And his words were something like, we're not going to start this. So from that moment on, I realized, okay, I guess I'm going to the outhouse by myself, and continued to do that for what, 5 years before we had indoor plumbing. So
yep.
I'll never forget the first morning. The previous owner, as I said, he was a farmer from Owatonna, and he was really kind of funny and lacked an education, and told us we were going to get up around 8 or something. And 6:30 maybe, 6 o'clock all of a sudden.
5:30, 5 o'clock, yeah.
We hear a horn beeping, and all of a sudden, you know, it's time to get up. The honeymoon's over, kids. He always called us kids, which I guess we were, but it was like, oh my goodness, what did we get ourselves into?
So we were very fortunate because Don Enzenauer, the former owner, was truly a Northwoods character. He's actually really an icon up there. He moved up similar to us as a young man. He was working on the pipeline in Alaska. He wanted to live in northern Minnesota. He bought a piece of property. He had a 5th grade education. That was in 1961. And he started a business from scratch with a 5th grade education and really brought it up to the point where we took it over.
When we took the business over, I think we counted how many trips we outfitted that summer, and it was something like 10 or 12 canoe trips. Most of the business was hauling propane up the lakes to the cabin owners and taking care of people's boats and motors. And he had so many staff hired, and we didn't even know what to do with them. He was having them smash cans with a sledgehammer so he could fit more aluminum cans in a bag. So we didn't have a lot to do that first summer, but through marketing at sports shows, we built the business up to what it is today. We've had several changes. So that was 1993, and we kind of just marketed the business. In those days, you went to sports and travel shows. That was how you marketed. So we'd spend all winter on the road doing the circuit and meeting really cool people that owned resorts and outfitting businesses and doing the same circuit. And I really enjoyed going to sport and travel shows because that meant I had an indoor toilet. So that was great. When it was 20 below up north, I could be in a hotel in Indianapolis with a bathroom.
And then in 1997, we were able to refinance because we had been in business for 4 years, and we built our lodge, the lodge that's there today. So at that point, we built a couple lodge units. We got rid of the mobile home trailers. We put in a septic system, so we went from an outhouse to 4 or 5 bathrooms, something like that, and that really, you know, put us on the map.